guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Chelsea. Hi, so this is Editing Chelsea, and as you can see from the first 5 seconds, one of my earrings is lost. And I'm very sad about this because I went out earlier today and I didn't notice until later in this day, like not even as I was filming the video, that I had lost an earring. So that's just gonna be how it is the rest of the video. Sorry about that. I'm genuinely very sad about this too because the earrings were a gift. But yeah, back to the video. And I'm still kind of figuring out the filming setup in this room. I thought maybe this corner would be pretty nice, but I don't know. Anyway, so last few videos I asked you guys for some ideas because I am slightly incompetent and today I am here to serve that content. So I decided to do this kind of casual what I wish I knew before running rather than something formal like you need to do this before you begin. And this is all like mostly from my personal experience from running as well as talking and living with my sister who is a cross country and track athlete for school. But first, a little background on my running experience. So I started when I was in around high school, and that time I knew nothing about running other than like what they taught in PE class, and that's basically just run laps until someone says stop. When I was running by myself, I just took the exact same route around the neighborhood. I was like avoiding eye contact in case anyone recognized me from school. I just wanted to like get it done and over with. But in college, I took a year off of running because I was in New York and there just wasn't that many good routes. I mostly went to the gym, and also, you know, in freshman year, you just don't have that much time to exercise. But that summer when I came back, there really was no other exercise to do that was free, you know? So me and my sister went running quite a bit. I learned a lot more about running from her since she'd been doing cross country and track since 6th grade in middle school. And last year, I decided to do something that was maybe a bit too ambitious for someone my level. So I decided to train by myself for a marathon. I almost finished the 26.2 miles, but really I just think I wasn't prepared enough and didn't have a super solid plan, and I didn't take diet as much into account. However, over all these years, I do think I improved my own running style a lot. I kind of found what works for me, and I'm here to share it with you guys. So without further ado, let's just get into what I wish I knew before I started running. So the first thing that I wish I knew before I started was to find a pace that you're actually comfortable with. Pace is basically the time that it would take for you to run a certain distance. And there are lots of pace calculators online. All you have to do is just enter the amount of time you want to run, the distance, and there you go. It's like a simple division. This number can be used for reference if you're wearing like a smartwatch or a phone to track during your runs. And I'll go over the gear that I use later in the video. As the impatient high schooler I was and still kind of am, I kind of just went with what I knew best, which was what I would do if I were to run a mile at school. And that's a problem because I was actually running around 5K or 3 miles. So just 5 minutes in, I was already so over it. I was like breathing really hard and irregularly. I was sweating a lot. I was kind of dreading the next 30 minutes. And that's just not a good foot to get off on a run. So this seems like a no-brainer, but you do have to take into account like distance, the weather, how you're feeling that day, all of that, and ultimately settle into a pace that you're comfortable with. And by comfortable, I mean you're breathing hard, but it's not irregular. You can feel your legs working, but they're not burning. And you can maintain this speed for at least the next 30 minutes. I know the first couple minutes are always gonna be rough, but I believe that once you push past that and you settle into this pace, everything's gonna become much better. So just push through and I believe in you. Okay, so the second thing I wish I knew was to actually invest in good shoes. So you might think like any sort of athletic tennis shoes might work if you're a beginner, but even if you are, the way that your feet fits into the shoe is very important. So for me, last year when I started training from a marathon, I went to this shop called Runner's World, I believe. It was where they specialize in running shoes. So they basically measure your feet and help you find this pair that perfectly fits you. But if you don't have this kind of resource near near you, I would say to just make sure your feet is very snug. Like you don't want to tie it too tight, but you also don't want any spaces between your foot and the shoe, because believe me, if there's space, you're gonna get blisters when your feet just move around during the run. And also your running style does change over time, so you'll have to find new shoes to accommodate that. And that reminds me to get new shoes, because right now I'm kind of getting blisters even though my shoes worked perfectly for me last year. So in this case, please do what I say and not as I do. Get new shoes even if your old ones aren't completely broken yet. I know that's a hard lesson for me because I'm very cheap and I'm like, I'm not throwing this away until it's absolutely not usable. But good shoes are very important for running. And next up, this is so important, but eat before running. I know you might think, and I was this exact same way, that I'm gonna get cramps if I eat before any exercise. And for that reason, I ran on an empty stomach for so long before I realized how my performance could improve so much if I just ate a little something. For me, if I didn't eat after around like maybe just 1 or 2 miles, my stomach would literally start growling and I'd start to feel lightheaded, my fingers would feel numb, and it just wasn't a good feeling. So what I do is, if you see my other videos, I take a little snack before any sort of exercise. It can be like a cookie, a small apple or banana, a piece of bread, anything like that. You can eat it around 10 or 20 minutes before you exercise, or if it's something really small, like right before is fine. And this is so while you're digesting and obtaining that energy, you're able to use it on the run. Because trust me, the worst feeling is when you're a ways away from home, you're getting super hungry and you're like, the only way I can eat is if I run all the way back, and you're just thinking about that the whole time. And of course, this should be obvious, but please stay hydrated before and after a run. If you're like me, I sweat a lot, so I have to replenish that water throughout the whole morning. So fourth, I wish that I knew what a running plan was before I started. And this can be done with just a simple Google search. You'll find so many different levels of plans online, but generally you just don't want to run every single day of the week, even if it's a very short distance. You'll just get easily burned out that way. So I'd say to just start maybe like 2 to 3 days a week and add to 4 or 5 as you go. That's kind of where I'm at, and I'll also sprinkle in some strength workouts. But if you like to stick to running only, here's a sample plan that I found from Runner's World. Basically, starting out the week with a shorter run, increase a little bit of time and distance the second day, take a rest, try that distance or time again, take another rest, and then do a challenge run at the end of the week. I think this structure really works because you're building up and then you hit that challenge at the end of the week and just feel accomplished. It also keeps everything interesting as well, because running can be very repetitive, and if you're just going around the same neighborhood route every single day, you'll be like dreading that the next morning. And you can also use apps like Strava or Nike Run Club to track where you're going and record your pace. My sister, she has a smartwatch, but I usually just take my phone, and I know this isn't the most wieldy way to do it. So again, do as I say, not as I do. I really need to invest in that running belt or the armband or something, because it can get tiring carrying your phone. But I think for shorter runs, when you're just getting started, carrying a phone just to track your pace can be a good idea. And lastly, I would say to use psychology to your advantage, because running is just as much psychological as it is a physical sport. And there are just so many ways to increase your endurance just by using your mind. So first, I'd say to find some good upbeat music to listen to. I think Spotify has a whole genre called running, but it's just fun to curate your own playlist so you get the music that you actually like. I don't like to have this music too loud, because when you're outside, you want to be aware of your surroundings. But also, if you hit that sweet spot and you get a song you really like, it will definitely make the run fly by. If you ever catch me running outside, you'll probably see me jamming along to music as I go, because my songs are just that catchy and motivating for my run. And another tip would just be to set landmarks along your route to reach. So you can say, once I get to that stop sign, I can slow down a bit or walk, and once I get to that corner, I'll be halfway. And these little indicators can really keep it interesting, because I think when you're at school, they're usually like, oh, run 4 laps around the track. Everything looks the same. It's repetitive and boring. You just want it all to end. But if you're running outside and you have this freedom, just look for these little signs to motivate yourself and be like, I'm almost there, just a bit more to go. I think that's a really good idea. Lastly, and this is just good form, but keep your head up and your back straight when you're running. If you look at your feet all the time, it can also get very boring. You can feel like, oh my god, I'm taking like so many steps, it seems like I'm getting nowhere. But if you just focus on the view, just think of it as your body is taking you along this little ride, so why not just enjoy it? Take in the fresh air, see what's around you, be aware of where you're going. Unless the ground is super uneven, try not to keep your eyes on your feet the whole time. And that kind of sums up everything I wish I knew before I started running. A lot of these tips kind of came from seeing my sister run as an athlete and also just my own experiences. I know running can be intimidating at first, but honestly, it can be a very good stress reliever, a good way to start your day or end your day, and I hope you guys found at least maybe one of these helpful. And what's good about the sport is that it is very individualistic, so even if you're running with other people, the progress that you make is all your own. You kind of get into this little competition with yourself to try to beat your previous time or distance, and once you push through that wall, whether it's the first mile or the first 2 weeks of running, you'll really hit your stride and want to keep going. You can actually come to enjoy the sport if you're willing to keep at it. And I think that's like pretty much anything else in life, right? Once you let muscle memory take over, you feel like you're like invincible, like you can keep going. Your playlist is so fire, and overall it's just a very enjoyable experience. I hope I'm selling this to you very well because I truly do enjoy running. So let me know if I missed anything, if you have anything to add. Are you a runner or are you interested in getting started? I think running is one of those sports with the lowest barrier of entry, so I really hope that more people can give it a try. Thank you so much as usual if you've come this far. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I appreciate each and every one of you for watching my videos. So I'll see you guys very soon in the next one.